Some games don't age. No matter how many years pass, you load them up and suddenly hours disappear. Even after 17, 18, or sometimes 20 years, these titles are still just as addictive as the day they launched. Today, we're diving into legendary games that are still addictive after 17 years. If you love games that truly stand the test of time, this list is for you. Let's start this list with Gun. The 21st century gave us way more cowboy games than anyone expected, maybe even more than we deserved. We had games like Red Dead Revolver, Red Dead Redemption, and Call of Juarez. But for me, there was always one game that stood above the rest, and that game is Gun. Gun was developed by Neversoft and released in 2005 on the PS2, Xbox, and GameCube, with a PSP version released in 2006. Back then, storytelling in games was already improving, but Gun pushed it even further. It raised the bar in a big way. Over time, Gun slowly faded into the background while newer Western games took the spotlight. But even now in 2026, this game still holds up. Honestly, I still feel like this game gives Red Dead Redemption 2 some serious competition. I still remember playing it for the first time in 2005. I was sitting in my living room, controller in hand, not knowing what to expect. I had played Red Dead Revolver the year before, so I knew Gun had a lot to live up to. I won't spoil the story because this is one game you really should experience yourself. The basic setup is that Cole and his father Ned are attacked on a steamboat by an evil preacher and his men who are hunting a mysterious golden relic. Things go very wrong, the boat explodes, and Cole is left alone. From there, the game becomes a brutal journey of revenge filled with gunfights, horseback riding, and some genuinely surprising twists. There's always something happening, and the story keeps pulling you forward without ever feeling boring. One thing I'll say that the final boss does not mess around. Even if you fully upgrade your weapons, stock up on health, and carry more ammo than you'll ever need, that last fight will test your patience. It's tough with multiple phases, and it took me a long time to finally beat it. The game itself is fairly short, around 6.5 hours, but I spent nearly 2 hours just trying to defeat that final boss. It's frustrating, but also incredibly satisfying when you finally win. Gameplay-wise, Gun is impressive even by today's standards, especially for a 20-year-old game. It's a third-person shooter with an open world that encourages exploration. The map isn't huge compared to modern games, but it's packed with things to do. Even after all these years, Gun remains a legendary Western game. Its story, gameplay, and music all come together to create an experience that still feels fresh in 2026. Next, we have Uncharted 2. The original Uncharted really took me by surprise. I hadn't heard much about it before I popped it into my PS3, and I loved it from the very first moment. Naturally, I was really looking forward to the sequel, and a couple of years later, Uncharted 2 is bigger, better, and even more thrilling than the first game. This time, Nathan Drake is chasing Marco Polo's lost treasure, which sends him on an epic journey around the world. The story has plenty of twists and turns, and you get to explore some amazing locations, lush jungles, dark underground caverns, bustling cities, and even snowy mountains. Gameplay is a smooth mix of platforming and third-person shooting. Climbing and jumping feel a bit like Tomb Raider meets Infamous. Nathan won't blindly jump into danger, and now he can hang, shoot at the same time, and even use riot shields to push forward while staying in cover. There's a new stealth option too, which you get a taste of during a museum break-in. You can quietly take enemies out from behind or even get into hand-to-hand fights. And the action set pieces are just incredible. Fighting a gunship, battling on top of a speeding train, or leaping from jeep to jeep during a car chase all feel like being part of your own action movie. The story is solid, but the voice acting and camera work don't quite reach Metal Gear levels, though they come very close. Once you finish the main 10-hour story, you can replay chapters to find hidden treasure, or try fun tweaks like infinite ammo or one-shot kills. The soundtrack is fantastic again. Greg Edmondson's score matches every moment perfectly, from sweeping action sequences to quieter scenes, and the improved sound effects make Nate's movements feel realistic. Animations are smoother, everything feels polished, and it all adds to the immersion. Uncharted 2 is ambitious, polished, and endlessly entertaining. If you're starting the series, this is where you should begin. You can always go back to Drake's Fortune later, but if you only play one Uncharted game, make it this one. It's a masterpiece that changed the industry. Next, we have Dead Space. Dead Space is an absolute masterpiece of action horror. It took all the right ideas from games like Resident Evil 4, improved on the basics like camera control and aiming, and then added its own unique twist with a completely new setting and method of combat. The result is one of the most iconic games in its genre, and even now, it still holds up as a benchmark for survival horror. The story is set hundreds of years in the future when Earth has exhausted its natural resources. Humanity has mastered space travel and developed planet cracking, a process that splits celestial bodies apart to extract minerals and ship them back to Earth. The crown jewel of this operation is the USG Ishimura, a massive mining vessel responsible for more planet cracks than any other. When the ship suddenly goes dark during a routine mission, a maintenance crew is dispatched to investigate. Players step into the shoes of Isaac Clarke, a systems engineer on that crew. Isaac isn't a soldier or hero type. He doesn't come armed with weapons or military training. He arrives with the mission to fix communications and to check on friends, including someone very close who sends him a cryptic last message before vanishing. Soon after boarding, chaos erupts. Their shuttle is destroyed, leaving them stranded. The crew is hunted by nightmarish necromorphs, grotesque creatures that turn the ship into a slaughterhouse. Isaac must navigate the corridors, find survivors, repair systems, and figure out a way to escape. A journey that can easily take 12 hours or more. Combat in Dead Space is unlike anything else. You won't take down monsters by shooting the chest or head. Necromorphs only die if you strategically dismember them. There are some minor issues. Some zero-gravity jumps feel awkward, and backtracking can make the ship feel smaller than it is. Even with these small flaws, Dead Space excels in every way that matters. The story, combat, atmosphere, and visuals all come together to create a truly terrifying and unforgettable experience. It's tense, fast-paced, extremely violent, and dripping with sci-fi horror. Dead Space didn't just set a standard for survival horror, it planted the seeds for an incredible franchise. If you love survival horror, action, or sci-fi, this is a game you cannot miss. When students from DigiPen first showed off their Project Narbacular drop to Valve, they probably didn't expect that not only would they get hired, but they'd be handed a budget to turn it into something as special as Portal. It's quirky, clever, polished, and full of this subtly twisted sense of humor that makes zipping through Aperture Labs an absolute joy. Players wanting more will definitely want to replay it and dive into the challenge modes. Portal is one of those games that's hard to explain without seeing it in action. The only weapon is the portal gun. Right-click to place an entrance, left-click to place an exit, then walk through, and suddenly you're somewhere completely different. Portals can only go on certain surfaces, which is what makes the puzzle so satisfying. You'll figure out how to cross gaps, climb obstacles, and avoid turrets, all while thinking about timing, positioning, and which portal goes where. The fun really ramps up when you start moving objects through portals. Weighted cubes can take out turrets, energy spheres activate switches, and sometimes you'll just find yourself doing something completely absurd, like stepping through a portal on the ceiling to fall endlessly, or chasing your own portal loop. The game loves letting you play with the rules in weird, delightful ways. The story is short but smart. It's best left mostly unspoiled, but it's structured like a little story within a larger world with hints connecting back to Half-Life. The real personality of the game comes from the computerized voice you hear throughout. Deadpan and strange, it's funny in a way that sticks with you. By the end, you almost miss hearing that voice after hours of listening to it. Once you finish the story, extra challenge levels unlock. These aren't just repeats, they force you to rethink puzzles in new ways with limits on time, footsteps, or portals. Advanced mode cranks up the difficulty even more, demanding timing, precision, and patience, and the sense of accomplishment when you finally solve them is fantastic. Portal ends up being smarter than it is long. The concept alone is brilliant, and everything here is polished to perfection. It's a game that's fun, clever, and full of little surprises. The best way to experience it is as part of Valve's Orange Box package, where it fits perfectly with the Half-Life 2 universe. Before 2009, the superhero video game genre was widely considered a graveyard of licensed mediocrity. For every decent Spider-Man 2 title, there were a dozen lackluster movie tie-ins that felt like cash grabs. Then, Rocksteady Studios arrived with Batman Arkham Asylum. Arkham Asylum is a third-person action game where you step into the cowl of the Dark Knight. It kicks off with Batman bringing the Joker back to Arkham after a breakout. Joker escapes with Harley Quinn's help, takes over the asylum, and releases all the inmates. From there, it's a thrilling ride across the Arkham campus, full of gas-filled rooms, vent hopping, and frantic rescue missions. Gameplay in Arkham Asylum is smooth, smart, and addictive. The free-flow combat system is revolutionary. It allows Batman to chain attacks, counters, and gadgets, seamlessly making fights feel cinematic and empowering. Stealth also plays a big role, letting you sneak through shadows, take down enemies silently, and plan your approach. The balance between stealth and combat is perfect. Gameplay breaks into 3 parts: hand-to-hand combat, stealth, and exploration. Fist fighting is fast, fluid, and satisfying. Batman moves quicker than enemies, striking, reversing, stunning, and chaining combos that feel powerful without ever being overcomplicated. It's easy to pick up, hard to master. Tasers, knives, and heavier enemies make you think strategically, so button mashing won't carry you far. The graphics and sound design elevate the experience even more. The gothic art style, rain-soaked corridors, and shadows create a sense of tension and realism. Voice acting is phenomenal, with Mark Hamill's Joker and Kevin Conroy's Batman delivering unforgettable performances. Batman Arkham Asylum is the greatest comic book video game of all time. The Game of the Year edition adds to that legacy. It's an adult, well-told Dark Knight story with fun, deep gameplay, incredible voice acting, and a world that feels true to Batman. Minor flaws exist, but they don't matter in the grand scheme. Arkham Asylum is a must-play, and even years later, it still stands as a high watermark for superhero games. Next, we have BioShock. Nearly 2 decades after its release, BioShock still stands as one of the most influential and captivating games ever made. What started as a spiritual successor to the System Shock series quickly became a landmark title, blending intense action, deep role-playing elements, and philosophical storytelling in a way few games have matched since. You begin by surviving a plane crash in the middle of the ocean, only to see a towering lighthouse rising from the waves. That's your gateway into Rapture, the underwater city at the heart of BioShock. Built in the 1940s by visionary industrialist Andrew Ryan, Rapture was meant to be a utopia free from government, religion, and moral constraint. By the time you arrive in 1960, though, it has fallen into ruin. What truly elevates BioShock is its story. Without spoiling anything, it explores themes like free will, objectivism, power, and human ambition through sharp writing and unforgettable characters. A certain mid-game twist is still one of gaming's most famous, making you pause and rethink everything that came before. Voice performances are exceptional, especially Armin Shimmerman as Andrew Ryan, and the chilling delivery of Atlas, your early guide through Rapture. At its core, BioShock is a first-person shooter with meaningful player choice. You wield conventional weapons like pistols, shotguns, and a wrench, but you also have access to plasmids, genetic enhancements that give you superhuman abilities. You can mix and match these powers, encouraging creative combat strategies. The soundtrack fits perfectly, blending 1930s to 1950s jazz and swing with an original score that swells during combat or quiet exploration. Upon release, BioShock earned near-universal acclaim, scoring 96 on Metacritic and winning multiple Game of the Year awards, including Spike TV and the Game Critics Awards. Its legacy endures, not just for technical achievements, but for proving games can deliver deep philosophical storytelling alongside thrilling gameplay. Even now, in 2026, BioShock is absolutely worth playing. The 2016 remastered version improves visuals and performance on modern systems, but even the original still holds up beautifully. It's one of the most amazing games I've ever played and a personal favorite I keep returning to. Looking back from 2026, Need for Speed Most Wanted still feels like a defining moment for arcade racing. Released in November 2005 by EA Black Box, this was the game that took everything great about the Need for Speed formula and pushed it to its peak. Open-world racing, illegal street culture, intense police chases, it all came together perfectly. Nearly 20 years later, it's still talked about for a reason. At its core, Most Wanted is built around Rockport City, an open-world map split into different districts. You're free to roam, pick races, and build your reputation. The main goal is to climb the blacklist. There are 15 racers standing between you and the top spot. To move up, you have to win races, complete police-related milestone challenges, and earn enough bounty to prove you're a serious threat. The heart of the game is the police pursuit system. Even today, it's hard to think of another racing game that did cops this well. Chases start small, but as your heat level rises, things get wild fast. Roadblocks, spike strips, helicopters, and those heavy police SUVs turn every escape into a high-pressure moment. Using shortcuts, hiding spots, and smashing pursuit breakers never gets old. Visually, the game still holds up better than expected. Car models are clean, the city has atmosphere, and the gritty color tone fits the illegal street racing vibe perfectly. The soundtrack is another major win. Rock, metal, and electronic tracks hit hard and keep the adrenaline high during races and chases. Of course, not everything has aged perfectly. Rubber band AI can be frustrating, and some milestone objectives feel repetitive on repeat playthroughs. The storytelling isn't deep, and the cutscenes lack polish compared to modern games. But none of that is enough to take away from the overall experience. In 2026, Need for Speed Most Wanted still stands as one of the greatest arcade racing games ever made. Its police chases, progression system, and pure sense of speed remain unmatched. This isn't just a nostalgic classic, it's a benchmark. If you care about racing games at all, this is one you play, remember, and respect. Released back in November 2003 by Ubisoft Montreal, Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time still feels like one of those rare turning points in gaming history. Even playing it again in 2026, it's easy to see why this game mattered so much. Led by Jordan Mechner, the original creator of the series, this wasn't just a comeback, it was a full reinvention. At launch, it earned massive critical praise, sitting in the low 90s on Metacritic, and that reputation hasn't faded with time. Gameplay is where the Sands of Time truly shines. Wall running, jumping between pillars, swinging across gaps, it all flows together in a way that still feels good today. The animations were ahead of their time, and even now, the movement feels precise and elegant. Combat is simpler, focusing on sword fights against sand enemies with acrobatics mixed in to keep things dynamic. It can get repetitive at times, but it never completely drags the experience down. The real star of the game is the Dagger of Time. Being able to rewind mistakes completely changes how you play. It removes frustration without removing challenge, encouraging you to take risks and experiment. Mess up a jump or a fight, rewind and try again. It's a mechanic that feels just as clever now as it did over 20 years ago. Visually, the game still holds up thanks to its art direction. The Persian-inspired palaces, warm lighting, flowing sand effects, and magical time visuals create a strong atmosphere. The soundtrack by Stuart Chatwood blends Middle Eastern sounds with orchestral music, giving the game a timeless, adventurous feel that sticks with you long after you stop playing. Sure, it's not perfect. Some combat encounters go on longer than they need to, and a few platforming sections demand very tight timing, but those are small issues in an otherwise tightly designed experience. In 2026, Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time still stands as a benchmark for action-adventure games. Its influence is everywhere from parkour-focused movement to narrative-driven mechanics. Whether you're revisiting it or playing it for the first time, it remains a beautifully crafted classic that absolutely deserves its legendary status. Next, we have Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare. Released on November 5, 2007, Modern Warfare was the moment this franchise truly changed everything. Developed by Infinity Ward and published by Activision, it walked away from the familiar World War II setting and jumped straight into Modern Warfare. Back then, that move felt risky. Looking at it now in 2026, it's clear this was one of the most important turning points in FPS history. The single-player campaign is still incredibly strong. You experience the story through multiple perspectives, mainly following British SAS soldier Soap MacTavish and US Marines fighting an ultra-nationalist threat across the Middle East and Russia. The story doesn't waste time with long explanations. Instead, it throws you into intense situations and lets the events speak for themselves. The campaign isn't very long, but its pacing is excellent and every mission feels purposeful. Some missions remain legendary even today. All Gillied Up is a masterclass in tension and stealth, forcing you to move slowly through tall grass in Pripyat while enemy patrols pass inches away. On the other end of the spectrum, missions like Shock and Awe hit hard with large-scale combat and emotional weight, showing how quickly things can spiral out of control in war. Captain Price in particular stands out as an iconic character, helped by strong voice acting and commanding presence. From a technical and artistic standpoint, the game was ahead of its time. The visuals were impressive for 2007, but what really stood out was the sound design. Gunfire felt powerful, explosions had weight, and the music by Harry Gregson Williams added a cinematic punch that elevated every major moment. Even today, the atmosphere holds up surprisingly well. Looking back in 2026, Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare remains a benchmark for first-person shooters. Yes, the campaign is a bit short and fairly linear, but those are minor issues compared to what it achieved. Its influence is everywhere from modern multiplayer design to cinematic storytelling in shooters. Whether through the original release or the remastered version, this is still an essential experience and a true classic that earned its legendary status. Finally, we wrap up this list with Resident Evil 4. Without a doubt, Resident Evil 4 is one of those games that completely changed the direction of an entire genre. Even now, it's clear how massive its impact still is. Developed and published by Capcom under Shinji Mikami's direction, this was the moment Resident Evil stepped away from fixed cameras and tank controls and fully reinvented itself. The story puts you in the shoes of Leon S. Kennedy, no longer the rookie cop from Raccoon City, but a hardened US government agent. His mission is to rescue the president's daughter, Ashley Graham, from a remote European village. The village is controlled by a disturbing cult called Los Illuminados, and the enemies you face aren't mindless zombies anymore. Gameplay is where Resident Evil 4 truly made history, shooting enemies in the legs to stagger them, managing limited ammo and deciding when to fight or run created constant tension. The opening village siege remains legendary, a perfect example of pressure, chaos, and survival horror done right. Inventory management through the attaché case added strategy, while the merchant brought upgrades, progression, and one of the most iconic voices in gaming. Technically, Resident Evil 4 was far ahead of its time. The lighting, sound design, and atmosphere still hold up remarkably well. The voice acting can be cheesy, but that B-movie tone is part of its charm. Extra modes like Separate Ways and the Mercenaries add huge replay value, giving players more reasons to come back long after the credits roll. It's not flawless. Escorting Ashley can be frustrating at times, and the controls feel stiff compared to modern standards. But these issues are minor when weighed against everything the game does right. Its influence can be seen in games like Gears of War, Dead Space, and even modern Resident Evil titles, including the excellent 2023 remake. Resident Evil 4 isn't just a classic, it's a landmark in the gaming world. It redefined survival horror, balanced action with tension perfectly, and proved that a bold reinvention could elevate a series to legendary status. Even in 2026, it remains an essential experience and one of the greatest video games ever made. And that's a wrap on our journey through these legendary games that have stood the test of time. Even after 17 years, they're still as addictive, fun, and unforgettable as the day they first came out. If you enjoyed this trip down gaming memory lane, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more legendary content, and drop a comment below telling me which of these games you still can't put down. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.